Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me in the locker room this evening. I'm Alan Locher. Tonight, I'm thrilled to welcome back Vincent Russell Van Patten, a writer, traveler, and storyteller, to discuss his new book, When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer. Vincent's journey has taken him across the world from the vibrant streets of Lisbon, where he lived and worked at a youth hostel, to the serene countryside of southern Italy, where he embraced a simpler way of life. We'll also talk about his time teaching English in Japan, the lessons he's learned along the way, and his recent return home to California just last month. His story is one of adventure, self discovery, and the pursuit of meaning. And I can't wait to dive into it all. Please help me welcome back Vincent Russell Van Patten to the locker room. Hey, Vincent.
Hey, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me back.
Well, great to see you and welcome back. I'm loving the book and was so excited to get to the part where you travel to Ericeira and your
Mm,
open mic night, which we'll come back to. But I was in Ericeira in November of 2023 visiting friends who currently live there. Um,
no way.
beautiful, beautiful place.
It is. Did you do any surfing?
I'm not a surfer, unfortunately, and it
Yeah,
was a little. We were there in November, so we had great weather, but it was still a little cool. But I mean, I'm
gotcha.
sure MJ would have gone out in a second. She's a big surfer gal. And funny enough, my sister and brother-in-law are in traveling through Portugal right as we speak right now.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Well,
How was you were in Lisbon before that, right? I remember you saying that.
yeah. I mean, that's where we were in Lisbon. We went to Cascais. We
Mm,
went to we didn't get to Porto, which I would have loved to. Um, but I loved Lisbon. I loved being able to walk. I mean, it's sad because, reading your book, I wish we were there for a short period. We maybe 5 days. So I didn't learn as much as I would have liked. Like, listening, reading where you were in parts of Lisbon. I know when you were talking about the bridge and at the water where you were, but there
mhm.
was so much else and so much detail that you provide that, I hope to get back. So if my
Yes.
path to citizenship happens, I certainly will be back for sure. Um,
Next time you gotta work at a youth hostel. It'll change your whole experience.
I, we're going to get to that because
Right.
yeah, I mean, not only a youth hostel, but you actually have always traveled through hostels, whether you work there or not, right?
Right. For
Yeah.
yes, like I'd say throughout my 20s, I've been staying at hostels because it's like $20 or less. It's kind of changing actually in the last like few months. I had a pretty bad hostel experience in Japan, funny enough. And I'm like, this might be the end of my hostel days, staying in like
Oh,
12
no.
person dorm rooms. I'm willing to spend the extra $50 just to have like my own room and nice place to stay. But if you're trying to travel for cheap and meet people, it's you can't beat it. It's so much fun.
Well, and I was going to say this later in our conversation. I wish I had done it at your age because
Right.
I, I feel like I'm living vicariously through you by reading your stories, but I think and that's why I love speaking to you and letting others hear our conversation because, there really is so much to learn by traveling the world and
Absolutely.
seeing how others live. Well, like I said, you just returned from Japan. Welcome back to the US of A. How long had you been out of the country? Because I mean, you've been traveling for a long
Mhm.
time.
Yeah. So this book takes place in the summer of 2022. So I spent 2 months working at this hostel in Lisbon, Portugal, and then went to Italy and worked on a farm in this like old town in the hills in Calabria. I did that for 3 weeks. So it was like spending 3 months total in Europe, kind of just backpacking around. And I knew I wanted to write a book about the experience. I was like trying to get into these interesting situations to have more stuff to write about. And at that time, I was already planning to move to Japan to teach English. That was kind of a dream of mine for years, since like 2019, when I went to Japan for the first time. And I kind of was just starting to realize that I want to be a writer. I want to just travel and have interesting experiences and stories. And Japan just seemed like this other world. It was, as a kid, I was pretty into just like anime, and I didn't actually watch much anime, but I loved like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. It's kind of
I
American anime.
remember
It's not the
from our
real stuff, but
conversation. I remember from our conversation that it was a dream of yours to
mhm.
live there. Did it live up to that?
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable. So I knew at that time, I was like, I just got to get to Japan and live here, because living in a place is just such a different experience than just traveling, and just seeing what's like every day-to-day life. And but that was 2 months before COVID. And so the world shuts down, and I'm just like itching to move to a foreign country, because I just wanted to write about having stories and kind of just being challenged out there in the world. And I'm just waiting. I moved to San Diego and started this podcast with one of my best friends, called the Dare to Dream podcast. And I was working at a restaurant and just writing about my experiences. I wasn't doing much at the time. I was just writing about what's going on in my head. And then like the world opens back up. It's 2022, and most of the world starts opening up, but Japan remains like the last democratic nation to open its borders. So the rest of the world is open, and I'm like, I gotta just go somewhere and just just do something. And I was like, let's just do Europe. And I found this website, World Packers, where you can have it's called a woofing, where you could, kind of strange name, but you could people open up their homes, and uh, you could find hostels to work at, pretty much like anything where you work and live for free. So you don't get paid, but you get like housing and sometimes food, so room and board. And anywhere in the world, it's pretty amazing. World Packers. And I found
I think you
a
mentioned that
hostel.
before. I forgot about that. I knew you were working at this hostel in Lisbon for free. I didn't
Yep.
realize. So it's Wolf Packers.
That'd be interesting. So it's called woofing, is like the term. I forget what it stands for, but World Packers is
Oh,
the
World
like
Packers.
website. Yep. Wolf Packers. Um,
Well,
that's
pack of
a
wolves.
new one. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I found the hostel to work at in Lisbon, and then while I was there, I found the spot in Italy. Just this woman who's like, "Come work on my farm, and you could just live here for free." And so during that, why I'm saying all this is, during that time, I was trying to get to Japan at some point. I was kind of biding my time. And while I'm there, you kind of find out in the book, I had my first interview on the way to Europe to teach English in Japan. So that was in Toronto. So I stopped on the way. And then I don't want to spoil it, but you probably know I get the job while I'm in Japan, while I'm in Europe, to teach English. So after that summer in Europe, I came home for a month, and then I was off to Japan, and I was there for 2.5 years. So I just got back.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah,
But it lived up to the dream?
it did, in so many ways. Like, just like I was saying, it is truly. Have you been to Japan?
I have not. No, I've been to China. I have not been to
Oh
Japan.
wow. Yeah. Well, China too. It's just another world. Like, it's so
It
different from
yes.
what we're used to. It's another way of life, and everything is, much different. And um yeah, like I got there, and it was still closed to tourists, Japan was. And so
Wow.
so you had to have a working visa to be there, or you had to be Japanese. And so I get there, and it's for like 3 months, me and my friends who I met teaching English, just being in Japan with no tourists at all. And that was one of the most surreal like experiences I think you can have. Like, I don't know if that something like that hasn't happened since like
Right. And it won't,
hundreds of
right,
years.
and
Yeah.
hopefully it won't happen ever again.
Yeah, it's a place with no foreigners in Japan, which is known to be very isolated and like its own culture. And that's what makes it so interesting and unique, is because of its history of like being so isolated and creating this very distinct culture. So just being there, just us kids who just, we're all just thrown into this situation, and we're just so excited to finally get to Japan and have like 3 months to just kind of have fun and just, get really close with this group of friends, this couple from England and then this girl from New Jersey and this other young bloke from England. We were kind of like the five best friends, and we're all teachers, and we're kind of just ripping it up in Osaka.
Do you know where she's from in New Jersey?
No, not exactly. I
Okay.
forget. Are you
So
from New
you
Jersey?
that's where I live.
That's
Um,
right, of course.
where you just returned in February. What was it like coming home? Was it somewhat of a, you came home after the fires? Was it sort of culture shock returning to the United States?
Yeah. So I was back in just for Thanksgiving in November. Oh wait, no, November. No, I was not. I was back a year last Thanksgiving. So sorry. I was back in September. I came home from Burning Man kind of randomly.
Oh,
Which was,
nice.
yes, that was very fun. So I was back for that and then went back to Japan in October. But you had the fires in LA, just seeing that all taking place from afar was just crazy. And obviously I wasn't even here, and it was absolutely mind blowing. So coming back to that, it's pretty strange. It was almost like I didn't really want to come home and like see what had happened, because it's
Hmm.
like the Palisades and it's places I grew up, and a bunch of friends lost their homes and stuff. My mom was living in the Palisades, and she like had to move, and so yeah, like part of me is like I don't really want to go back to that right now, but I also did want to be a part of just this crazy change that was happening in my hometown. So it's kind of this conflicting emotions around that, but came home, and yeah, so good to be with my friends again and family. It is, and it like, yeah, as I've traveled over the years, and it feels like Los Angeles will always be home just because all my family's here and friends and everything. I don't know if I see myself here like in the future permanently, but it it is always familiar and a warm
I
welcome.
mean, I don't know you that well, but I really could not imagine that any one place is going to keep you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's the big question. Like, where am I ultimately gonna want to set down some roots? And at this point, I really don't know. I think it will be America, just because it's a great country, and I'm from here, and it's like it's home. It's even if you live in another country for a long time, like especially like Japan, it's they say I was only there for a couple of years, but like it's not, you'll never quite be one of them. And I feel
Mm.
like I want to have all these experiences. I want to live in foreign countries, but this will always be my nest to return to. It's very fortunate.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
You just shared in your blog. Now pronounce your blog.
Citoyen du monde. I don't speak French, but I like the name.
I love the name, and you do it
Yeah.
well. Um,
Thank you.
you just shared you went and played basketball for nearly all of your 20s. You thought you'd never have the chance to play it again and play it again pain free. But
Mhm.
9 months ago, you say things started to change. How? I remember you talking about being in pain
Yeah.
in one of our conversations.
Yeah. So that is a long story that has been kind of the greatest challenge and the greatest gift of my life, is just going through chronic pain throughout the entirety of my 20s. So I'm 29 now. And when I was 21, I had just a random back flare up that I thought, I didn't really know what to think at the time. It's kind of hard even to actually remember precisely what happened. But for the next 7 years, not a day went by where I wasn't in some semblance of pain. And yeah, just had back pain throughout my 20s, didn't know what was going on, couldn't find any answers physically. Like I was young, healthy guy and just in a lot of pain. And like the rest of my life, everything else was going pretty great. So I was like, maybe this is just what I got to deal with. And I can't find any answers physically. So I'm just hoping and praying that like one day this will just go away. And when I was in Japan, I thought maybe moving to a foreign country, like away from just everything I knew, would maybe like shake things up and maybe I'd heal there. That didn't happen. um, so yeah, the years just went by and I was just dealing with this and feeling like I was alone in a way. Like obviously I had my family and my friends and stuff, but couldn't really just explain and yeah, just what I was actually going through because I was kind of shameful about it. Like I'm just a kid in my 20s and
Yeah.
I have back pain and I can't understand what's going on. And I
And what
actually,
changed?
yeah, so it is a long story, but I was trying to fix it physically. Just went to countless chiropractors, physical therapy for just years and nothing worked. And then like 9 months ago, I was moving from Osaka to Tokyo and for like a month straight, I had like 3, maybe 4 flare-ups, which is just like your back just feels like it just go like there's a dam holding in energy and the dam just breaks is how I kind of describe it. And just sheer pain. So if you've had that, or if anyone listening's had that, you know what it's like. You're just on the floor, can't really move. So I could barely stand for like a month straight. I'm like, I just cannot live like this anymore. And I was in a group at the time to actually fix back pain with this guy. He's awesome. His name is Low Back Ability on like Instagram and YouTube and stuff. And I thought that was the answer because it was a guy who was going through exactly, it seemed like I was going through as well. Just his young life was just riddled with pain and just injuries that he just could not find answers to. And he devised pretty much a way to get out of it. And he actually did heal. And it's like it's a program to strengthen your back and just kind of strengthen it in an unorthodox way, I guess. But I thought that was the answer. I'm like, finally, I found this community of people. It was like a couple hundred people in this group, all just trying to fix their backs. And I'm like, finally, I found the answer. I'm doing it. These people, we're all going through the same thing. There's 3 sessions a week with the guy to like go through the exercises. And there's like group meetings every week. A year goes by and I'm not any better. And I'm like, something's got to change. And right like at the year mark is when I had that month of I was just out for a month. And at that point, I reached out to the group. I'm like, somebody, like, I just need some help. I'm really in a low spot right now, going through it with this. I just cannot find any answers. And one woman in the group, like, she messaged me, like, hey, Vinny, I know, like, I haven't been on the group very often lately. And I remembered her. She started at like the same time as me and in the program. And I did think, I'm like, oh yeah, she hasn't really, like, has she left? She hasn't been around for a few weeks or like a month. And I was wondering what happened to her. And she's like, yeah, I had this kind of breakthrough and I realized that's not physical. It is it's emotional pain pretty much. It's called TMS. And that name was started by kind of the pioneer of mind body healing, Dr. John Sarno. And he called it tension myositis syndrome. But since then, you could just call it TMS, the mind body syndrome. And she's like, yeah, it's emotional. And these are the books you got to read. You got to start doing kind of this inner work to confront the pain. And she didn't give this all at once. It was like a long process of working with her, but she's like, you got to like confront the pain and there is nothing wrong with your body. It is not broken. There's nothing wrong with your back. It is pretty much energy stored inside of you that has been just perpetuating itself with fear and the worry. And once you start doing this inner work, you will get better. And she was like 80% better at the time. And since then, she's like a personal trainer now and completely healed. And I'm like, oh my
I'm
God.
gonna pass this on to my husband
Sorry.
because he gets pain from time to time. Not, I mean, it's been debilitating, but it'll get better. He thinks he's actually injured it, but
Yep.
I don't. I wonder. I'm gonna pass that on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. So
Yeah.
disclaimer, but I haven't felt this good since I was 21. I'm still very much on the path of healing. It's a daily continual practice, but it has changed my life and it's crazy. Like the pain is real. It's physical pain, but it's just created by the brain as a distraction from repressed emotions. So once you start doing this work to kind of unpack what's going on and why you may have pain, it's very clear. Like when you read these books, I'm not doing the best job of explaining it because it is slightly complex, but it just became so obvious that this is what was going on with me. I'm like, oh my God,
Well, the
this is
most
it.
important thing is that you feel better. It doesn't matter how you
Yeah,
get there, truthfully. I mean,
for sure.
the
It's
most
amazing.
important thing is you got out for the first time and played basketball pain-free. So
Yeah.
that
No, I'm
that's
back.
something to celebrate.
100%. I wrote a note of that this morning because I played basketball with one of my best friends this morning. And I'm like, just driving home. I can't believe it. This was when I was in that much pain, like in my like 25 years old. I would give anything just to play basketball again, like I was a kid, without worrying about my back and my body. Like if I could get to that point, I really don't care what else is going on. Like I will be happy. And then I've since, I've realized that like the way you heal is by relaxing and pretty much being like, I need to be happy now, despite what I'm going through. Like I need to relax now. I need to make peace with this. And that is how it eventually starts to fade away, is to find joy again, to find your life again without worrying about the pain. Then it starts to realize like, oh wow, I don't have to create
A- and initially,
malfunctions,
you
pain
met
inside
her
my body.
through a social media group.
Yes. So I mean, like I said
I mean,
before,
I
it's
just as as
surreal. Yeah.
as toxic as social media can be, there are so many great things too, like that.
Oh yeah. 100%. I mean, like us talking, this is through social
Yeah,
media
well,
and
and I believe, even you in the stories and you being able to connect with people while you were, on the road and just friending them on Instagram and then, meeting them up somewhere. I love that, part of
mhm.
connection that you were able to do.
Yeah,
As we were talking about Japan, I
sure.
meant to ask, will there be another book?
Yes, that is the plan. The plan is Japan. Yep.
Good, good. I
Yes.
assumed. I absolutely assumed. You released your first book back in the summer of 2021, Hours of Youth, where the beauty of California and the Pacific Northwest served as the backdrop that took you on a solitary road trip in the raw, open arms of nature. I was a big
Mm.
fan of the book and the stories that you wove into that. You stayed at many hostels along that journey as well, right?
I was doing more Airbnb on that because
Airbnb
that was the
on that.
beginning of COVID. So it was, you couldn't really see people. And that's what made it very interesting because I was kind of just, that was like a much more solitary trip, just me thinking about starting this writing career and how nature is important to me, and just kind of being in Yosemite and Oregon and up in the Pacific Northwest. So it's like me just a lot more thinking, it seemed like. And the book is a little more that sort of tone. And then the second book is more of me having these, connections with people and staying at hostels. And it's a lot more about the people and the experiences and just the wacky characters that I meet along the way. Where the first one's more just me in my head.
Absolutely. But here
Mhm.
we are 4 years later talking about your second book. How would you describe the writer Vincent was in 2021 to who he is currently today?
Great question. At that time, I think I was in, and a lot of it had to do with the chronic pain. I was just in complete unknown with a lot of things. Like I had this great, seemingly insurmountable problem. I couldn't figure out how to feel normal or fix my body. And it caused me to really try to draw wisdom from a bunch of different, philosophy and different people and writers. And I was just like hungry for answers. And that's what kind of spurred me to go on this road trip and just be reading along the way and just really thinking deeply about like the purpose of it all and why is this happening and where meaning comes from and stuff. This one, I think I'm trying to just kind of tell a story more. It doesn't have to be quite so heady. It's more of just something. This story, I'd say more is trying to just get back to like who we are as human beings and just show you how beautiful the world can be and really not costing, doesn't have to be an extravagant trip or anything. It's just you can go work at a hostel and have an amazing adventure or go backpacking and just do it on your own. And it's more of just telling a simpler story in a way. Like now I'm trying to, instead of gathering so much information, I'm kind of trying to simplify and find my own voice and my own opinions and um, find my own way, because that is, as it all comes full circle, and why I believe the pain is for a reason, is the answers are inside of us. And I'm kind of just sick in a way of all the information and just the endless noise. I just want to kind of find some peace and tell my story and show people that not all hope is lost and there's still obviously amazing people out there and people just like you, and it is worth getting out there and meeting them.
I love that. Um, I was going to say describe the book, but you did that. But I just got to the part of the book where the title is mentioned in
Mm.
words. How did the words in the title come to you?
So the title, yeah, When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer, that sort of means that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, the answers to the unexplainable questions of life are the things that you don't need to pay for. You don't need to,
Mhm.
look a certain way or have a certain thing. The answers are the stars. The answers are the things that are available to all of us. And that is just kind of opening the door to not needing the answers. So it's kind of like a play of like the answers are the stars because the stars are something unexplainable. And it's like the world is beauty because of that mystery and that uncertainty. We don't need the answers to everything. And that in a big way is what connects us as human beings, and what makes us human is not knowing what comes next, in the next life, and what any of this really means. It's just enough to be here and to have the stars above us and to be able to see the world and other, cultures and everything. So it's kind of the stars are the answers to the unexplainable questions of life.
I love that. Love that. Was it
Thank you.
always your intent to write about your European adventure?
No, it was pretty much the second book was just going to be wherever I went next. And so that was going to be Japan. And then I was thinking about Buenos Aires, but then Europe just seemed like it just, yeah, kind of just happened. And as I was on that trip, I was just writing notes about everything, just, yeah, journaling about every day and the experiences. And I knew that I did want to write a book about it. And that's what happened.
When you think about Arrows of Youth, this book, your blog, what is your biggest hope that anybody who's reading takes away from the stories you share?
That kind of, like I said before, life is worth living. Life is worth striving and getting lost and kind of just throwing caution in the wind and just having an adventure. It seems like
I know. I'm so glad you repeated it again. It's perfect. Um, During your travels and riding in Lisbon, you came across an American girl at the hostel where you told her, I just flow from park to park, or today
mm,
I flowed from park to park. I tell myself I'm in Europe to write and get things done, but I don't know why I put that pressure on myself. And her reply to you was, have you ever thought that by sitting in the park and watching the world, you're getting a lot done? That struck
yes.
a chord with me as I'm curious about all of those parks, cafes, bridges, water's edge where you've written. When you sit there, are you like, how much are you writing? What are you writing? What you see in front of you? To me, it's like you're taking in everything.
Hmm. Yeah, that was, like I say in the book, my mind was blown just by her saying that. Yeah, by sitting in the park and watching the world go by, you are getting a lot done. It's like, wow, you are so right. That is why I'm here. I'm not here to write a book. I'm here to experience life and to just be here. And I mean, that's what I love more than anything is to just have my journal and to just go to a place and just watch people watch. Like that's my favorite form of entertainment. And that's why I like to be in different cities and stuff. I love just sitting on a street corner and just watching people walking by. And
And how much are you writing, on one of those
yep.
sit downs in a park?
um, yeah, that is the like thing as a content creator that I've grappled with. Like, I don't want to be the person with, vlogging about everything. It's like everything I'm doing is about creating content about it. I I enjoy writing because I can have the experience and then reflect on it later. But
Hmm.
why I like having my journal is it's not like, you know, technology. It's this thing that people have been doing for thousands of years. So I am sitting there and if I have an idea, I just jot down a couple paragraphs or sometimes with my journal, I keep it briefer because it takes more effort. But yeah, usually just like an idea, and then I put that into the computer machine, and I expound on the idea from there when I can just kind of flow more easily.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's easier, of course, when we're typing to
Yep.
to flesh it out, make it longer. Put all of the memories, because I'm sure there's so
Hmm.
much in your head from those experiences and the people you meet. But it is fascinating because you you know you reading your stories, you can feel everything that you're taking in. I mean, just even when you talked about Avicii's song and the impact that that song had on you when you heard it at the hostel, you take us in.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. About that one. That one is, and it's hard to because it's a song. It's like an electronic song. Avicii, one of the biggest DJs of all time, and he committed suicide. And his song is all about like I want to be remembered or live a life. What is it? Well, the music video is what kind of opened me up. I saw the music video at the hostel of this guy. I forget his name exactly, but he makes the music video kind of as a tribute to Avicii. The song is "The Nights." Yeah. Da, 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 da. What are the lyrics? But
Mhm.
he says in the music video, I want to be remembered for the life I lived, not the money I made. And it's him doing all these, just traveling the world and just like having fun and not like doing these extravagant things, but just he's with his dad and he's jumping off of things, just being like a silly kid. And it is an amazing video.
Mm.
And that just hit me that this DJ was one of the biggest DJs of all time. And he's at the top of the game, yet he committed suicide. And the song it's all about these are the nights you will never forget. Or if I want to just look up the lyrics, make
These
it
are the
easy.
nights that never die. My father
There we
told
go.
me.
My
Yeah.
father told me to remember. Yep, exactly. And
Yeah.
that is what hit so hard, because it's like a very energetic song, and I would listen to it all the time, like running on the treadmill or just exercising and trying to get through the chronic pain and like, just feeling it out. And I would think like, I don't know, it's just you're alive. And think about the dad, like my father told me, like when you're a son, um, these are the
Yeah.
nights you remember, that sort of thing. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
Yeah, but the impact. I mean, it had an impact in the way you tell the story. Um, you talk a lot about in the book, and I think in Arrows of Youth, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you've made it a priority to talk to strangers,
mhm.
on these journeys. Thinking of this particular book and some of the strangers you met along the way, are there any that come to mind that had the biggest impact on you?
That's a great question. The one that comes to mind, well, a couple, but Marino, I think you read about Marino. He's kind of just this, imagine like an 1800s like grifter with like fingerless gloves and just very, yeah, he's just this guy staying at the hostel. He was a friend with the owner. He didn't really teach me anything, but he was like a violinist who was just traveling around, and he would like bop into this hostel whenever he was staying in
Yeah, you
Lisbon.
were you were asking him how he started playing, I think, and he was
Yeah.
playing at a very, very young age or something like that.
Yeah. He said like it was between like this and being a pirate. And I imagine he was
Yes,
great.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I
that's
imagine he
what
was
it
a
was.
great, yeah, violinist. And he enjoyed what he did. He was just a character. Like you can't make this stuff up. Just like the pencil mustache and the goatee and the felt hat and he knocks on the door at like 1 a.m. and I'm working at the hostel, and I open the door, and it's just this guy straight out of a movie, Marino, and in Lisbon. And yeah, he was just kind of became this character that I would see around town sometimes, just in the alleyways, and it was pretty funny. But
You
somebody who
would see
actually
him playing, right?
never actually saw him playing. I would just see him like stalking the
I was just
alleyways,
walking around.
like with a beer in his
Uh,
hand.
well, and I also remember in the book that, really late in the evening, you were strolling the streets and a couple was looking for a place to stay, and you were
Yep,
debating whether
it
to
might have been the
offer.
same night.
Yes.
Yeah, the French couple. Um, yeah, taking out the trash one night, and just this, I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's the party district of Lisbon that the hostel is in. And I'm like in my socks and shorts, taking out the trash amongst all the tomfoolery, and just get a tap on my shoulder. And yeah, just this like backpacking couple just looking at me, and like they saw me come out of the hostel. Like, is there any room? I barely speak English, and I'm like, oh boy, like, can I don't really know how to handle this. I think it was Easter, and I'm like, okay, I'll check. And like we did have room, and I was just, a little unsure if like I'm allowed to just let people in, like, again, very late at night without really telling the owner. But they paid, and they like left a nice note in the morning that like the owner saw, and it's like, thank you, you really helped us. And I'm just like, wow, like that.
Oh yeah, they left you that. Yeah, the
But
beautiful, beautiful note. Yeah.
yeah, two French people.
Do you
Yeah.
know the Alfama Cafe?
Alfama Cafe.
Oh no,
Not
Alfama Cellar.
No, I don't think so.
It was a tiny restaurant that we found that we just loved
Mm.
in
What
in
did
Lisbon.
you what did you love about Lisbon? How's your
Just
experience?
loved being able to walk around.
Mhm,
Just a great city to walk. I felt very safe.
mhm.
We had a couple friends there, and they took us out. We went to a great restaurant called Rocco's.
Ah, don't know it,
Um,
but
went to the big club. I want to say it's Lux, but is that am I
I think so. Yeah, down like on the beach
up
boardwalk, like a
on
bit
the
away,
water?
right?
Yeah, yep, on the
Yeah,
water.
good times.
Yeah, Yeah,
Nice.
but it was just really easy. We had an Airbnb there,
Mm.
right near the big square on the water. What is that? The
The
arch,
commercio. Yeah,
the
commercio.
big arch with
Yep. The Jose,
I.
King Jose.
Yeah,
Of
I'm
course.
horrible. I
I just remember
usually
because I wrote about it in the book.
I
So
usually know much more about the places I visit. Um, you were in Portugal during the anniversary of the 1974 revolution, and you did some digging to learn more, where you pieced together Portugal's most peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy, which I sort of found interesting at this time in our political world. But it's one of those many things you've researched for the book.
mhm.
How important is that for you, just not only to tell the story but for you yourself? How
Yeah.
much digging do you like to do? um let's even say you weren't writing the book. Is
Mhm.
this something you would do for yourself when you've come across these things, whether it was for a book or not?
That's a great question. I usually do not do much research when traveling, and then I was in Taiwan like a month and a half ago, and I'm like, I wish I just knew. I went to like this mountain top village called Jofen, and it's known as like the town that inspired the movie Spirited Away, the like Japanese uh, Ghibli film, and beautiful, just like mountaintop village, and just like drinking tea there and stuff. And then I wrote a story about it after about the experience, and that's when I did the research. And I'm like, I wish I knew this stuff when I was there to just be able to kind of understand its history and stuff more. That's an interesting question because going there and writing about it makes me want to learn more about it. But
So
I
like
guess just
that instance, the
naturally,
1974 war, did you do that much later,
yes, I did it after like when sitting down and writing the book.
writing the
But
book?
there was like a talk about the exhibit, I guess, just in this random little like library of which kind of started the whole thing for me of wanting to learn more about it, where there's just beautiful paintings and stuff, all like carnation themed, which is the flower. It's called the Carnation Revolution because it was like a peaceful revolution. And when it was kind of won, the a woman in Lisbon like gave away all these free carnations and gave them to the soldiers, and everyone was just kind of celebrating with these carnations. And so there's all this art, and just around Lisbon everywhere was just murals and things hung up on all the walls and the alleyways and stuff of carnations. So what is this all about? And upon and then it just kind of stumbled into this exhibit where I learned more about it. But then, yeah, writing the chapter about it is when I kind of did a deep dive and learned more. But
Do you
yeah, it is a
enjoy
good
that?
lesson. I do. Yeah, kind of aftermath of learning more about it. I mean, yeah, it makes it much more interesting. Like knowing about Portugal's history is
Yeah.
fascinating. Like it's dictatorship and peaceful transition to democracy. Just the people overthrew it and kind of just made this coup and pulled it off. It's pretty amazing. Got him. Got the
People have the
transition.
power. People have the
True.
power.
People do have the power.
They certainly do.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back to that moment in Ericeira and the open mic night. You literally, I think, had just arrived in Ericeira when you received a text from the hostel about this event, and you, without hesitation, signed up.
Yeah.
Um, when, at what age? Because I know, in reading your stories, and you didn't always say yes,
Right.
but you,
I said no very often. 'Cause I was
what when did the switch happen? And
I'd say
and
yeah.
share why that's so important, because I love, really, in this book, where I'm at. I mean, you have said yes to many things, and pushed yourself to do many things that I know you weren't comfortable with. And I think those led to some amazing experiences.
100%. So yeah, so this all, like the writing, the traveling, it all kind of just erupted like when we talked for the first time. It was Eras of Youth, and it was almost like this great awakening where I was like, this is the life I want to live. I know it's not going to be easy, but I want to pursue this kind of unorthodox path. And there's still, it's like 7 years later and a lot of uncertainty. I'm still trying to figure out how to actually make money, and, but it's been an adventure. And me and one of my best friends who I do the podcast with, Greg, we both quit our jobs and decided to go for our dreams. And mine was to be a travel writer, and he quit his job in finance and is now a life coach, and he's absolutely crushing it. Lives in San Diego, doing great. And we started the podcast to document what it's like on the journey to wherever you hope to go, to following your dreams, instead of kind of looking back at, this is how I did it, this is how I got there from the successful people. We want to show you what it's like actually struggling and not knowing what exactly to do. But we realize that to go anywhere, you're going to have to put yourself in some uncomfortable situations and get out of your comfort zone and say yes to new opportunities. And a lot of that is about talking to strangers and just working that muscle. And we got it tattooed on our arms: live a story worth telling. And that is pretty much the point. I got in Japanese and him in English because we got them in Osaka when he visited. And it's pretty much asking yourself,
Wait, you got what did you say you just got?
yeah, we got that tattooed: live a story worth telling.
Wait, so I was going to ask about the tattoo. So arrows, did you get the arrow finally? Because I'm not there in the book.
That's in the
book. You did. Yep. And you got the one from the gal at the hostel.
Right. That was the first one. Yes.
Amazing.
All.
Can you what can you show? You were about to show.
Yeah, I'll show you the strange angle, but this is Japanese here.
Amazing.
So yeah, that says live a story worth telling in like old samurai language. And pretty much when you are, you question, do I actually want to do this? Do I want to go talk to that girl? Do I want to raise my hand? Do I want to get on stage? Will it be an interesting story, or are you going to stay in your comfort zone? And it sounds like I'm just doing this all the time. And no, obviously I'm human. I'm terrified of looking like an idiot a lot of the time, but I'd say I try to work that muscle as often as I can, and it has paid off for sure. So, yeah, it kind of all happened at once.
So here's a question. Out of all the things that you've said yes to, what is the yes you're most happy about saying yes to?
That's a good question. Doing the open mic in Ericeira was pretty awesome. That just gave me confidence.
It was a packed house, you said.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. Empanadas were flowing. It was great. Little Latin bar. What have I said yes to? Going to Burning Man. That was like a week before I was in Japan. Wasn't really even planning on coming home, I don't think. And my friend's like,
wow.
I was gonna, that sounds pretty extreme. I might have been planning to come home, and then my friend asked, like, do you want to come to Burning Man? And I'm like, no, like, of course not. It sounds like
I've heard amazing. I would love to go.
It changed my life for many reasons, but I was like, no, I can't. It's like a week and a half away. I'm so unprepared. But of course, I'm just, like, after thinking for a couple of days, me and my other buddy, like, I think we got to do it. And I asked him, like, it'll be easier not to do it. And I think that's why we have to. So we went
Uh,
and met my girlfriend, and the rest is history.
oh, you met her at Burning Man?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I love that. Oh, so
Yeah.
that's definitely worth a yes.
It was incredible. It was truly the experience of a lifetime.
I have many friends who have done it. So one day, maybe one day.
Gotta do
So I
it.
haven't gotten to the southern Italy part of the story yet. So what can you tease for what I have to look forward to when I get there?
Yeah, so I'd say the first half of the book is Portugal, and it's the city atmosphere. It's a lot of talking to people and having these funny experiences. The second half, I've heard people actually kind of enjoy that more. I mean, they just are pleasantly surprised about how much they enjoy that versus like the first part. And it's much more of just me immersed in nature and just thinking about how our relationship with nature, how important that is to me, and just how amazing it is just to work the land, like how good that feels, and how it does just feel like I'm getting back to like the roots of who we are
Had you
as
done that
people.
before? Worked the land like anywhere?
Toil the land. Not really now.
So did you learn a lot there?
Yeah, so I say a farm. It was a woman's property in this like dilapidated village in southern Italy in Calabria, called Isca de Marina, I think. Isca Solo Ionio. That was the official name of the village. And it was just like a ghost town, like just walls are crumbling. But so go through this village, and she just has this property at the top, and it's like olive trees and chickens. And it wasn't like pigs and cows and stuff, but it was like a big, kind of big property. Like her house is pretty small on it, but she had like several little cottages, and I stayed in one. And then there's some other world packers who came and stayed there and worked as well. But it was just me like cutting down cactuses and pruning olive trees and cleaning chicken coops and tending rabbits and just, yeah, learning from this Dutch expat woman who is, I call her Sage in the book. That wasn't her actual name, but she was just like this sage figure, and just giving me this such beautiful wisdom about connecting with the earth. And
Was she from
yeah,
Holland who moved to Italy?
yep, yeah. But she met her husband, um, who was, I forget exactly, Eastern European, and they moved to Italy, and she just fell in love with it and fully, like, she's like a queen in this little mountain village in Calabria, like the most interesting person. And she had her two sons there as well. So it's like I just kind of fell into this little Dutch Italian family in the mountains of Calabria.
I mean, truly spectacular.
It was,
Spectacular.
yeah, it was very cool.
I wanted to read before I let you go two quotes I sort of put together from the book because I think it really says so much about you and why I love, that you share this because you say, as a writer, as a human being, I know I must get out and experience the world. I feel the urging of my heart that says go. We can only learn so much from reading, watching, imbibing the tales of others. The other one is, I started to see there was something to learn from everyone, even a fool like me.
Mhm.
Um, and you said this somewhere else in the book too, and it's interesting because people have asked about like doing the show. It's almost 5 years that I've done the show, and I didn't start it with any intent. But what I have learned over these 5 years is that simple fact that we can all learn from each other.
100%. And that's a reason to talk to strangers. You might think that, the person on the street, it's, you don't give them the light of day at the time of day, but you don't know their story or what they've been through. And there is something to learn from everybody, even somebody who you don't relate to whatsoever or you completely disagree with. They might teach you who you don't want to be like, and that is a very valuable thing to learn. And
Ooh, that
yeah,
that that's interesting because as we were just talking about this, I'm thinking about how difficult it can be at times to talk to those who we do have a difference of opinion or political sides of the aisle. And
Right.
even though they might be very close to you, people still find it very difficult to
Yeah.
have those conversations.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm by no means a master of this or like, a great communicator, but I think if you just come from a place of curiosity, like this person actually believes something and they got there somehow. How did they get there? Why do they believe this thing just as strongly as I believe this other thing? So doesn't matter who it is. There's a lesson from everybody.
Where do you think your biggest lesson has come from?
Chronic pain is what first comes to mind for sure. That just because, obviously I have an amazing family and I've learned so much from them, but this was something that nobody could give me an answer for. And I couldn't find out. I had to figure something out within myself to get through it. And for the first 6.5 years, that was just keep the faith. And that is what, got me through it, that this is happening for me, not to me. I have to believe this is happening for a reason. I just can't see it right now. And it taught me more about myself than anything else. And it made me a better writer and just I think a better human being, having gone through something challenging that I really, couldn't find any answers for, but it was inside. It was inside of me all along. Truly.
I hear you laugh at that. Does that surprise you?
It just sounds corny when I say it, but it's like it's true. Like the healing is within us. There's nothing out there that is gonna fix whatever you're going through, It's us having to find peace within ourselves and having to just devise our own meaning from whatever it is that we're experiencing. Because like the noise and the things that we think are going to solve our problems, I don't think usually
And tell
do.
me again the initials of it.
TMS is the acronym, the mind body syndrome. Yeah, if you relate to this at all, I would just suggest looking up Dr. John Sarno.
Okay.
John Sarno. His book, Healing Back Pain. It's free on YouTube to listen to, actually. And he has like a full lecture on YouTube. He died a few years ago, but there's many people kind of taking on his legacy and, doing incredible work. The guy who I've learned the most from, his name is Jim Prusak, and he's called The Pain PT. He's on YouTube, and you could do like sessions. I've had sessions with him, and I do like group sessions with him still, with other people going through it. And it's completely changed my life, because it's not just about healing chronic pain. It's about healing your nervous system. And that just makes you a calmer person in everything you do. So
Well,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Before I let you go, where is the next adventure, Vincent? Do you know?
Yeah. Thinking about some different ideas. I think New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
I think New Zealand. Yeah. Getting back to nature, just having, it sounds amazing. For such
Have
good
you ever
things. And
been?
no, never been to New Zealand or Australia. So
Same here. I am praying that in a year and a half, when I turn the big 60, that I can do that. That would be my
nice.
dream. That would
Live
be
out
my
the Lord of
dream
the Rings.
vacation.
There we go.
Dream
You'll do it.
vacation. Well, if you get there before me, send me those cliff notes.
Yes.
It's always amazing to speak to you. Congratulations on the second book. The second book is available on Amazon.com. Both books are available there, right? Arrows of
Yep.
Youth and When
Correct.
the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer.
Yes, sir.
Stay
Thank you
well,
for
my
having
friend.
me. You too. This was awesome. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always great to talk to you.
Yes. See you next time.
Absolutely. Have a great night. Thanks, everybody. Thank you to Vincent Van Patten, Vincent Russell Van Patten. Always love hearing about his adventures. You can pick up a copy of his new book, When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer, right now on Amazon. Join me next Wednesday, March 12th at 7:30, when real-life friends and former Guiding Light co-stars Susie Coate Ciccolini and Jocelyn Seagrave, Susie, who played Samantha Mahler, and Jocelyn, who played Julie Camilletti, will be here live. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. And if you'd like to stream audio versions, just search The Locker Room on your favorite podcast app. Please, everybody, stay safe and have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.